Check, check, check. Test 1, 2.
Good morning, folks. If we can ask folks to start taking their seats, we'll get started here in about 5 minutes. Thank you.
your Congresswoman, Angie Craig, and she'll speak in just a moment. I am from the state of Illinois, and I'm a downstater. We call it downstate if you're outside of Chicagoland. And has anybody heard of John Deere? Well, I live about a mile down the road from where the combines are built at the East Moline Harvester Works in the background. We want to start out by thanking the Peterson family for hosting us. If we can hear it for the Peterson family. Thank you very much for your willingness to do this. Now, a couple things. This is an official, I call it an ag field hearing. This is, instead of saying, hey, you come out to Washington and we want you to get in front of our committee. We're saying we're going to hit the road and we're going to go out and we're going to listen to people. This is designed 100% to listen to you. Now, a couple things that we want you to know about. This is official. It is being live streamed. We have millions and millions of people watching this, as you can imagine. It's like the thing that will go viral. But this is being live streamed. As you see, we started right at 10 a.m. sharp. We will end right at noon sharp. If you can follow these rules, each of you who has signed up, and we asked you to fill out these cards if you wanted to speak. And if you did not, please raise your hand and we'll make sure that you get these cards. And that is because we need to know who you are. And we're doing something a little different from our last field hearing. We didn't assign numbers. And so we had this great big long list of people that had to wait for a very long time standing up. We don't want to do that to you. So we assigned these numbers. And I think they pretty much went in order of people who signed up. So we'll call number 1, et cetera, and we have the name here. All right? If for some reason you don't like to get in front of people and speak, that's okay too. You can enter anything you would like into the record. All right? So this is officially called a 2020. What Congresswoman Craig and I are here to do is we want to help lay the foundation for the 2023 Farm Bill. And so what you tell us is very, very important. You don't have to filter yourselves. We know you're all polite, so we don't have to worry about anything going wrong here, but you don't have to filter yourselves. We appreciate candor. We want to know what you think, what you want us to know, because writing this next farm bill impacts every one of your livelihoods. So this is about you. All right, we are again in listening mode, and let me see if there's anything else that I need to make sure. Oh, you will be limited to 3 minutes when you get up there to speak, okay? And we do have a timekeeper. I'm not sure where. Yeah, are you like holding up a sign when they're close? Okay, so we have a timekeeper here. She'll hold up a little sign that says when you're about at your 3 minutes. So I think those are all of the. I think those are all of the remarks that we need to make at the beginning. Very quickly, I told you where I'm from. Moline, Illinois is, come visit. Has anybody ever been there to visit like the John Deere Visitor Center? Isn't it awesome? Yeah, but come and visit us sometime if you'd ever like to. Congresswoman Craig has been there. And so please come see us at any time. I've been on the Ag Committee for 10 years. As I said earlier, I chair this subcommittee. I come from a long line of family farmers. Everyone on my dad's side of the family, without exception, they still farm to this day. So that's a little bit about my background. Angie and I, before we got started, at exactly 9:59, we were exchanging pictures of our grandchildren. So that is on the side. My grandson, our latest, it turned 2 today. So we're pretty excited about that. He's wearing a shirt to school that has a farm scene and it says 2 on it. So anybody have little kids? Stuffed animal he was hugging in the picture. All right, let me, again, I know Congresswoman Angie Craig does not need an introduction, but let me brag on her very quickly. She works hard on your behalf every single day. Her voting record on all things agriculture is in line with what's important to all of you here. I think the world of her. She has a very good reputation in Washington, D.C. She is well respected. She is well liked. She understands how you have to work across the aisle, how you have to be bipartisan if you're going to get something done in 2022. So with that, Congresswoman Angie Craig.
Well, good morning. And Chair Bustos, it's an absolute honor to have you here in Minnesota's 2nd Congressional District today. I see a number of members of my farm advisory council out here in the audience, and so thank you so much for your service to our nation on the advisory council too. Before I go any further, let me just say thank you again to the Peterson family for allowing us to use this beautiful space. Just another round of applause, please, for the Peterson family. Bruce, Chris, Brian, you've welcomed us here today. I hope Les Anderson was cutting the lawn with you yesterday to get ready for us, so I hope you put him to good work. This family represents what is great about America's ag, along with their 3 sons, a true family tradition, just like across America. I know not long ago, and Congresswoman Bustos and I just got to see some family history of photographs of this farm. Not long ago in September 2018, we saw a vicious tornado tear right through this farm and many other places across Rice County. So I'm so glad that you're able to rebuild and that you came through that okay. Family farms like this one across this nation are what makes America truly exceptional. Right now in the 2nd District of Minnesota, about 60% of the land is covered in corn and soybeans. And I always say that that is just what makes this district so special, a mix of suburban and rural communities. There are a lot of people in Washington who support family farmers. And that's why I'm so proud to sit on the Ag Committee, because we still know that it takes bipartisanship. I know that's pretty hard to find in Washington these days, but it is one of the most bipartisan committees in Washington, D.C. I am so proud to tell you all that I am the first member of Congress in the history of the Congress to get year-round E15 past the United States House of Representatives. And I know that this administration and the last were tired of hearing people like Sherry, Congresswoman Bustos, and I talk about this, and we know that you need some certainty. We don't need to go back to whatever administration is there. And I'll tell you, the Year-Round Fuel Choice Act, which was part of the food and fuel package that passed the House last month, it was a little bit like whack-a-mole, trying to get that over the finish line with people popping off, but we were proud to get that done on a bipartisan basis. I know that there is a whole lot of work left to do, though, and that the Farm Bill is going to be a really important time for us, and I look forward to being there to negotiate the next Farm Bill on your behalf. And with that, I will stop talking. Most members of Congress talk way too long, and I'll turn it back over to you, Madam Chair.
I'm going to give you one other chance to speak for just a second, because I know we want to thank some other folks in addition to the Peterson family. And where's the sheriff?
Sheriff Thomas, where are you? Hey, Sheriff, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate all that you do and all that law enforcement does. And she didn't tell you this, but she's married to the sheriff in her county.
So I like to say I love law enforcement, literally.
Yeah. She loves a good sheriff. We'll put it that way.
I do.
So she's good. She's good. I also want to say thank you to the Rice County 4-H Education Ambassadors. Thank you so much for being here today. As well as to the Cannon Falls High School FFA chapter and their advisor, Dwayne Pliscott. And I can't be in a room with Ed Terry without saying thank you for all of the work that you did. And of course, he's embarrassed now, so we're going to let it go here. But Ed, thank you for your commitment to our community. And with that, Chairwoman, I'll turn it back over.
All right, let's get right at it. We're going to start with Bruce Peterson. I think that's only appropriate, right? We're going to let Bruce go first. And I'll tell you who's on deck in the hole, et cetera. And then we'll have Tom Peterson, who is the Director of Agriculture here in the state, and then Dan, is it Glessing? Glessing, and then Gary Wordish. So that's who the first 4 will be. Bruce, take it away.
All right. Thank you, members of the Ag Committee, for being here. Great to see a great crowd here. I'm sure you're going to have a lot of these hearings, and hopefully we get a farm bill across the finish line eventually. May not happen soon, but what I would like to touch on today is crop insurance. And you two being on the committee, you're certainly aware that how important crop insurance is to farmers. But one aspect where crop insurance helps farmers is with marketing. Marketing is extremely hard, but by taking a decent level of crop insurance, it allows farmers to go ahead and forward sell long before we know what our actual production will be. It's happened the last 2 years where markets have peaked in May, and you know, at that time a lot of the seed isn't even planted yet, and so it allows farmers to go ahead and forward market a lot of this. You know, typically when markets are at their seasonal high, and they're at those seasonal highs before actual production is known, so prices are much lower. So another point with crop insurance that we've had is discounts for young farmers. Starting out for the first 5 years, they get a premium discount. I think that's important. Typically young farmers, when they're assigned their APH, or that's basically what kind of coverage they can get, they're typically assigned a county yield, which is much lower than, for instance, our yield. It's about 20% lower. So they're already at a disadvantage with their coverage levels. So if we can maintain those discounts for beginning farmers, that kind of gets them at least on a level playing field with more established farmers. So the third point I want to make is, well, with beginning farmers, obviously it goes a long ways for them to be able to secure their operating loans. Once they can take that crop insurance coverage to their lender, that's a key point, and especially important now with our costs continuing to ratchet higher. Much more expensive to put a crop in now than many years ago. And the last point is the prevent plant coverage. That's an important component. For us on our farm in this area, we've actually only used it one time. That was in 2013 on one farm. Certainly don't want to use it, but this year in Minnesota, certainly some growers throughout the state planted very late. I know there was some prevent plant, but at least that's a fallback in the event that they can't get a crop planted, that they can at least, it's not very lucrative by any means to take that option, but it allows them to at least pay the rent, make those lease payments, and kind of at least live to farm the next year. So that's the main thing. And I remember I started farming in the mid-'80s, and one of my first years that I kind of had my own acreage was 1988. And for those of you in Minnesota, you remember that was an extremely hot, dry year. And back in those days, we didn't have the crop insurance options we have now. So kind of nerve-wracking times back then. Markets were taking big swings, and the crop prospects weren't that good. So anyway, need to maintain a strong crop insurance program. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Bruce. Now our Minnesota Director of Agriculture, Tom Peterson. Welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Craig. It's an honor to be here with you today. Again, I'm Tom Peterson, the Commissioner of the Minnesota Department of Agriculture. And I just, you can look in this room and see how important a farm bill is. Everything from hunger to our commodity crops, our livestock crops, so many important things. Agriculture in Minnesota is a $17 billion part of our economy. We rank towards the top in many important issues. I think my quick message is that the 2018 Farm Bill was a good farm bill. It wasn't the worst farm bill we've ever done. That it does work for folks. And so if we can continue to build on that and try to make improvements to that are going to be important. Some of the things that I think really rise to the top are, I just got back from the Philippines literally just 2 days ago. Trade is incredibly important, having a trade component to our farm bill. Foreign animal disease is incredibly important. Minnesota, #2 hog producer in the country, the #1 turkey producing in the country as we look at African swine fever. and high-path avian influenza, the foreign animal disease component, is going to be continuing to be incredibly important. I want to thank both of you for your support. And in the last Farm Bill, we had a component for mental health for farmers, which provided all 50 states with $500,000 to address that issue and continue. We need all of our farmers. Farmers is incredibly stressful. I can tell you firsthand. We were able to work with 10 different cooperators in our state to have a great program. The drought last year that Bruce briefly touched on too and everything, really, I think, highlighted things that we need to change and we need to update as we look at climate. Some of our programs don't work as well. Looking at a working lands type program, having common sense things when we have issues like the drought, like the Feed Act that you did, looking at making some of those tweaks that allow our farmers to keep farming in those times. Building on climate and conservation, water issues are very important. You're going to hear more about in Minnesota, we have our agricultural water certification program, which has brought $9 million to our state. And we have that recognizes issues and things that farmers do to improve water quality on their farms. We have over 1,200 farmers now enrolled in that program, and we're closing in on 1 million acres. And that also has climate benefits too as well. Two more quick things I just mentioned: an energy title, E85, E15. Minnesota is the leader in pumps, and the more that we continue to build on that in infrastructure is going to help. Meat processing, the more that we can do to build that out at all different levels, not just with grants to plants and everything, but also addressing workers. In closing, I'd just like to say the federal farm bill also is important for our funding, for our agency. It's about 10% of our budget, which is incredibly important as we go so forward. So thanks for doing this today, and appreciate being able to comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Commissioner. All right, Dan?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for coming out to the 2nd District. Dan Glessing, Service President of Minnesota Farm Bureau, dairy, crop, and beef farmer west of the Twin Cities, about an hour and a half from here. I've got 3 main points within the Farm Bill. Dairy margin coverage, the importance of having that as a dairy producer, especially younger, and now I'd like to call myself a middle-aged. I'm not quite to the other side yet, but anyways, it is a critically important program. Maybe some updates within that margin to reflect the increased cost of production that we're experiencing currently. That just to update that, but it's a good program. We want to keep that. Secondly, crop insurance. Bruce did a great job of outlining the importance of that. I would not be in favor of linking conservation measures to those premiums, because it is, like Bruce had said, it's more of a necessity now than anything else. So would advise flexibility within those. We're trying to experiment with new programs on these lands, and what works down here might not work for me. And so if we get into...
Gary Werdish, President of Minnesota Farmers Union. I'd like to thank both representatives for holding the field hearing in Minnesota. Minnesota, we think we have a lot to say, and now you're going to be hearing from a lot of people here in talking about the various programs, and 3 speakers in front of me mentioned various provisions, and I'm going to speak in more general terms of the Farm Bill, the importance of a Farm Bill. There's a lot of titles in the Farm Bill. It's really a food security, rural development bill. There's a lot of, this is the only bill that really funds a lot of rural America. It's not only providing farmers protection to keep them on the farm, but the example was given of crop insurance. The intent is not to profit off it. The intent is, if you go through a crop disaster, to keep you on the farm. So, the 2018 Farm Bill has done well, and I'd like to think of it as a living document that we can improve on it, do some tweaks, especially crop producers. Maybe there's some, more help for them. But, Tom mentioned 85, E15. I appreciate Congressman Craig's work on E15. But there's a few weeks ago, I was in Secretary Vilsack's office, and he talked about the importance of a Farm Bill, upcoming Farm Bill, and he explained all the various programs that the FSA has in rural development for rural America. And he said, I don't know why we're stuck on writing a Farm Bill sticking to a baseline. the importance of a farm bill, rural development bill, is so huge. He says our defense department does not stick to a baseline. So why are we, why are we always stuck in there, in that view? I know there's only 2 of you on the committee, but I think take that back. It's, it's the only bill that really helps rural America that is out there, and it's something that we work on every 5 years, and appreciate your support for coming here. And thank you very much.
All right, thanks a lot, Gary. All right, and please forgive if I'm mispronouncing anybody's name, but you can correct it when you get up here. Here's who we have: Bob Wordle, Vince Bach, and Richard Severson, in that order. And while you're coming up, by the way, this is our 4th field hearing that we've done. All of the previous 3 have been out west, so this is our very first one in the Midwest. You can come on up, I'm just filling time. So I want to give Congresswoman Craig credit for making sure that the very first hearing that we had out in the field in the Midwest was in Minnesota. All right, Bob.
Thank you very much. I am Bob Worth. From Lincoln County.
Wordle wasn't even close.
Well,
Sorry,
well,
the H looked like an L.
I don't print very well. I farm in southwest Minnesota, Lincoln County, and proudly serving as president of Minnesota Soybean Growers. Thank you both for taking the time to come and listen to us as we talk about the things that are so important to us, all this in the Farm Bill. I guess there's a couple things I'm going to talk about. Is first of all, the Farm Bill overall. I would really like to see the overall pool of money increase for that. As we know, there has not been an increase in pool of money for any of the provisions in the Farm Bill. And I think it should go all the way from SNAP all the way down through all the Title I. Because as we all know, inflation is hitting us really hard, and I think this is something that we need to take a look at increasing that. Overall, the Farm Bill is very good. As you can see by my gray hair, I have been around through a lot of Farm Bills. And this last Farm Bill is really good. And I like the safety net. It's a great safety net. I love it when we don't have to use the safety net, because then it means we are profitable. But we need that safety net, and a good safety net for when the time comes. We all know prices go up and prices go down. Yields go up, yields go down. So we need this safety net with the ARC and PLC. So we do appreciate that. Far as crop insurance, it is great. It is something that works. The one thing I would ask, and our organizations have asked about this, please do not tie any conservation or any other programs with the crop insurance. Let it stand alone. We all know the importance of conservation. We all know the importance of crop insurance. We all know the importance of the Title I Farm Bill. So let's just keep it all separate and move forward with that. I do want to say again, thank you, and keep working hard on this Farm Bill and try to get it done so we don't have to have an extension, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob Worth. Vince. Hi, Vince.
Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Representative Craig. My name is Vince Bach. I'm a pig farmer. I work for a pig farmer out in Jackson, Minnesota called New Fashion Pork, and I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota Pork Producers Association. Blake Holden should be speaking here on my behalf, but I guess I won that contest, but I think many of us here know Blake. But anyway, thank you so much for taking the time to come out to our neck of the woods and listen to our concerns. We are very appreciative of the time and effort that you take. From the Minnesota pork producer standpoint, as Commissioner Peterson so aptly stated, we are the #2 pork producer in the country, and so obviously we feel that pork production is very important to the state, and it's certainly very important to those of us that are engaged in that industry. So from our standpoint, we have a couple of things that we want to make sure are included in the next Farm Bill, and I'm making sure I'm checking my notes so I get everything done. But number one is we want to make sure that the first we're looking at the foot and mouth disease vaccine bank with the USDA. Those are critical in supporting and fighting against, which we hope never occurs, an FAD outbreak here in the States. Another very important part of the foreign animal disease issue is the National Animal Health Labs. The University of Minnesota Swine Diagnostic Veterinary Lab is very, very important part to what we do in the state. So we would ask that those be funded to the fullest extent possible, because again, if they are not working properly, we are not working properly. And in the event of a FAD, they would be critical to the responses that our industry would have. The last thing that we would ask is that the National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response grants also be fully funded to the extent that they also provide surge capacity for our national labs throughout the country and improving their things in general. Number one, I was John Anderson, who's our president, and I had a conversation this morning, and one thing that's very, very important to family farmers here, both in Minnesota and elsewhere, is that we just need to be smart about inheritance taxes. I know there was, that's been an issue, and I know Wes has been, we've had those conversations before, but it's very important that we be able to pass our farms on to our children so that they continue that in the future. And so I know that there were some proposals in Congress that would have worked against that. So we very strongly want to encourage Congress and our national political leaders to just, back off on the inheritance tax. That's a big one. Second thing, in general, we obviously in our industry are very, very supportive of trade, foreign trade. So having smart, bilateral, unilateral agreements are very important to us, because a significant part of our product is exported overseas to markets such as the Far East, Japan, Mexico, and things of that sort. So we just want to make sure. Thank you. My time is up. Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, very good. Thank you, Vince. I can tell you that Angie and I heard more about stepped-up basis than probably than just about any other topic when all of that. You might want to.
Yeah, I would just say sometimes you don't get a lot of credit for what doesn't happen in Washington, but if you got 5 Democrats who say no to something happening, it doesn't happen in Washington right now, and you're looking at 2 of the 5 right here today who said no change in the stepped-up basis.
All right, Richard, introduce yourself.
Chairwoman Bustos and Congressman Craig, thank you for holding this Farm Bill hearing today. My name is Richard Severson. I'm a 4th-generation family farmer from the tiny town of Clontarf, Minnesota, and I'm the first vice president of the Minnesota Corn Growers Association. I'd like to focus my comments this morning on crop insurance, and I feel strange after Bruce did such a great job outlining many of the things that we're concerned about. But crop insurance is the #1 Farm Bill priority for our 6,500 members in the Corn Growers Association. The stakes are getting higher and higher. The amount of dollars that it takes to purchase inputs, fertilizer, seed, chemicals every year keeps getting higher. Crop insurance not only helps us recover from losses, but it helps us secure loans, better market our crops, and make needed investments on the farm. Now, I may not look like a young farmer, but I still had to have crop insurance in order to secure my operating loan for this season, my 41st crop. Minnesota Corn Growers has worked with Congress in the past to build crop insurance over the years, including bipartisan reforms in '94 and in 2000. We've also worked to secure revenue insurance that's the equivalent of a replacement cost policy for farmers. Crop insurance also means farmers can repay loans and pay our vendors that we've purchased inputs from. So crop insurance in a roundabout way backs up the economies of our small Main Street businesses. Minnesota has one of the highest crop insurance participation rates in the country. 95% of corn acres are covered, and we have among the highest coverage levels purchased, over almost 80% on average. We have a great track record. Our loss ratio is only 0.65, meaning Minnesota farmers are usually the ones writing the checks to the crop insurance system in the form of premium rather than the other way around. So we feel strongly that we should do no harm to crop insurance, but we should build on that success. So what conservation that do not affect the farmer's risk profile. Second, this ensures that we pay a fair share of the premiums and that the companies who write and service those policies are encouraged to continue to provide fast and fair service to their farmers, and to continue to innovate with products to cover more of our diverse ag producers. Thank you for being here, and thank you for taking the time to come to Minnesota. And just if I could take a point of privilege, Chairwoman Bustos, thank you so much for your support of the Next Generation Fuels Act.
Oh, yeah, it would be, and Angie's supportive of it as well. I happen to have written the bill, but she's very supportive.
Oh, we know, and thank you very much.
Yeah, so, yeah, you know what, I'd be nice if we could pass it, but we need a little more support on that. All right, so again, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing names. Steve Schlangen, Dave Buck, John Zimmerman are our next three up. Was I even close?
Not bad.
Really?
I've heard a lot worse.
Okay. Lay it on the line.
Good morning, Chair Bustos and Congresswoman Angie Craig. Thank you for having us. I'm a dairy farmer from central Minnesota. My wife and I milk 60 cows and run 200 acres of land, and I also serve as chairman of the board of directors of Associated Milk Producers Incorporated, which is the largest dairy farmer-owned cheese cooperative in the United States. And I'm here speaking on behalf of not just AMPI, but International Dairy Foods Association, National Milk Producers Federation, and our Midwest Dairy Coalition. So today I wanted to bring up a little bit what Dan brought up earlier was the dairy margin coverage program. I think it's been a really good program, and I think maybe we can improve on it, but we definitely got to protect what we have. We know that farm sizes have grown over the last number of years, and to keep up with that farm size, I think the average is like 300 cows. It'd be nice to go from the 5 million cap on the tier 1 up to maybe 8 million pound cap, and allow farmers to renew their production history over time, because most farmers right now use 2011, 2012, or 2013, which is really outdated. But we appreciate your support on the supplemental insurance or coverage that was put in place last year. So that is a very big thing for us, the dairy margin coverage. And also possibly raising the coverage level from $9.50 up to $10 with the increased costs of everything, that not related to feed. So that the feed cost is already in the program, but the other costs have also increased a lot. The other thing I would bring up would be with the federal milk marketing order, we need that to be a hearing process, but we might need some help from Congress in getting a make allowance survey, a cost of production survey for our cheese plants, so that these are formula prices and they need the right numbers in the formula to get a good price. So if we could make that mandatory, we'd get a lot more clear reporting and a lot better data. And then the third thing would be on the nutrition program, the SNAP program, and the milk, the healthy milk or whatever, and forget what it was called here. I'm less familiar with this one. Healthy Fluid Milk Incentive Projects. It's part of the SNAP program, and possibly include cheese and yogurt along with that. But we think these things are really important, and we appreciate y'all being here. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Dave Buck. Steve, how do you pronounce your last name? For me? Yeah, how do you say your last name? Schlangen. Oh, I was pretty close. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Dave Buck, 2 syllables, love it.
You got it right. Thank you for coming down, and thank you, Representative Craig, for the invitation. My name's Dave Buck. I'm a dairy farmer about 20 miles straight east of here, near Goodhue. My family and I operate a dairy farm that has grown considerably over the years. I'm going to echo some of the comments that I think Dan and Steve said about the dairy margin coverage. It took us a couple farm bills to get it right, but I think we got it right. There needs to be some tweaking to margin. We're approaching 10%. Our costs have gone up, probably all of that, between labor and supplies, just different things. Dairy farmers spend a lot of money. I write out 70 checks a month. It's hard to believe, but between payroll and just all the other dairy farm expenses, we are a big driver in the local economies. I would second Steve's idea of raising the pounds of milk that qualify. our farms have grown over the years, and it's a fact of life, you just need more pounds to cover your basic living costs. He also commented on the federal marketing orders, and we need to make some changes there. I think the dairy industry will offer some insight into what would be the best way to approach that. I don't think there's a consensus yet on what to do. Another thing, and there's been a lot of talk about crop insurance, and a lot of dairy farmers use crop insurance because we raise crops to feed our animals. There's a situation in the dairy industry where all crop farmers are required to go report their acres, and we're supposed to designate acres to silage or acres to grain corn in July, I think, 15th, whatever the date is. That really doesn't work. When you're a dairy farmer, you plant your corn in the spring thinking you're going to do this, but Mother Nature can change things. So if you decide to change, I was going to put silage out of this field and now it's going to be grain, and you change that in the fall, technically you are in violation of the contract and subject to penalty. So we just need a little tweaking there also. I would also like to mention exports are 17% of dairy. That has grown tremendously in the last 10 years. So we want to keep sure that we always keep them export channels open. So thank you very much. Thank you for coming to Minnesota.
All right, thank you very much, Dave. All right. John Zimmerman, Ed Terry, and Dave Legvold. John.
In front of Ed Terry, this is quite a position to be in. So. Good morning, my name is John Zimmerman, and I'm a turkey farmer from just over the hill here, and I'm also serve on the executive committee of the National Turkey Federation. I appreciate the opportunity to provide comments today on the state of the turkey industry and to discuss the current farm bill. Since the highly pathogenic avian influenza outbreak began in February, there have been 133 cases of commercial turkey flocks, resulting in a loss of more than 5.5 million turkeys. It's been found in domestic and backyard flocks in 38 states, greatly impacting farms and rural communities. The National Turkey Federation is appreciative of the indemnification program implemented by USDA and APHIS and the strong congressional support we've received. Looking towards the Farm Bill, we hope we can build on the National Animal Disease Preparedness and Response Program created in 2018. And as an industry, we've learned many lessons from the current and previous outbreaks, and we hope to continue to implement the necessary challenges to help prevent the introduction and spread of this virus. But we do ask for your assistance in the following areas. Wild bird surveillance. APHIS's wild bird surveillance program provides an early warning system for us about the distribution of avian influenza virus. Routine samplings of wild birds in all 4 major flyways take timely action to help us reduce the introduction and spread to our commercial flocks. This has always been done on the coast. We'd really like to see this expanded to the Mississippi flyway because birds aren't flying the way they used to. They're coming in from different areas. Indemnity. Indemnity payments are made for animals that we have to depopulate to control and eradicate diseases such as HPAI. And while indemnity values traditionally represented only conventional turkey production, this year APHIS created turkey production subcategories for breeders and organic turkeys. Additional funding and congressional guidance on indemnity calculations is necessary for USDA in establishing appropriate indemnity values for these categories and also potential new categories such as no antibiotics ever. And we ask Congress to address this during the Farm Bill. Another area is research. Critical research is still needed to help prevent future outbreaks and develop more effective control procedures. Specific research needs include understanding the virulence of the H5N1 strain and also help us develop new strains to quickly depopulate infected birds humanely as possible. Vaccination is a big deal. HPAI vaccines could be developed quickly and used to effectively stamp out these outbreaks, but current World Organization of Animal Health guidelines and other agreements permit trading partners to treat vaccination as a sign that HPAI is endemic in a county and to impose very harsh trade restrictions on a nation that utilizes vaccines. These policies are rooted in an area when HPAI was less prevalent globally and it was impossible to distinguish between a positive test result from an infected bird and a positive test result from a vaccinated bird. Current technology allows us to distinguish between these two types of positives now, and we hope that the U.S. can immediately lead efforts to update these trade rules to permit vaccination when we have a specific outbreak. And finally, readiness. The current outbreak demonstrated that the strain a large outbreak can place on the response effort. We encourage Congress to work with APHIS to ensure appropriate staffing and training to respond to a multi-state outbreak of any foreign animal disease. This may include cooperative agreements so that they can be called upon cooperative agreements to train state employees so they can be called upon when the time comes. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Ed Terry.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. I've been an agriculture education instructor and FFA advisor for 51 years, so my comments are largely centered around young farmers and the importance. The average age of farmers nationwide is 57, 58 years old. I think we need to look ahead to the future. The Farm Bill needs to do everything it can, and I don't really have any.
So let me just, we have Dave Legvold, and then we've got Casey Grainer, Jim Kleinschmidt, Deborah Mills. Dave.
Thank you so much, Madam Chair, Representative Craig. I am a farmer who is a retired educator, so congratulations to Ed because he just retired. I farm about 850 acres across the Cannon. I'm one of those folks from across the river. And the Petersons know well that I'm not really a farmer. I'm a retired educator who farms corn and soybeans for real. I speak in support of the need to fully fund CSP and EQIP. I have had 2 5-year CSP contracts and 3 EQIP contracts, and these programs were the backbone of my transition away from full-width destructive tillage. It's concerning to know that Minnesota has been a leader in conservation ag. In the years 05 to 19, Minnesota awarded more CSP contracts than any other state. In 2020, Minnesota was able to award only 14% of the CSP applicants. We ranked 47th out of 52 states. Only 17% of EQIP applicants were awarded contracts in 2020, ranking 50th out of 52. Working with CSP and EQIP contracts has paved the way for the Legvold Farm to become a Minnesota agricultural water quality certified producer. Producers who enter this program farm in ways that reduce soil erosion by nearly 125,000 tons per year and reduce CO2 emissions by about 48,000 tons per year. All this sounds great, but only about 900,000 acres of Minnesota's 25.5 million acres are farmed by certified producers. That is comparatively few. Minnesota has work to do with regard to care of soil and water and atmosphere. I will share with you a photo taken from space that shows Minnesota's big brown spot. By comparison, we look at Illinois' little brown spot. This indicates that in the fall, our land is still black and left open to erosion. Minnesota has adopted about 5% no-till and strip-till in this state. EQIP will continue, CSP and EQIP will continue the progress toward better care of our lands and waters. I thank you very much for today.
All right, thank you, Dave. Are you submitting that picture for the record, Dave?
There's some wall art for you.
Oh, good. Excellent. He's donating wall art to Angie. I hope that's under the gift limit. It looks very valuable. All right, Casey?
Good morning, Congresswoman Bustos, Congresswoman Craig. Thank you for being here. My name is Casey Grainer. I'm the Senior Vice President of Agronomy at Central Farm Service, also known as CFS. We're an ag retail cooperative with grain, feed, crop inputs, and energy divisions, headquartered in Truman, Minnesota. Our co-op's got 300 employees and over 4,000 member owners across southern Minnesota and into northern Iowa. CFS is also an agricultural retail owner of Land O'Lakes Incorporated, which is one of the largest ag cooperatives in the country. I want to thank you today for the opportunity to participate in the listening session and really focus my comments on 4 critical issues. 1, the need for a strong safety net and predictable ag economy. 2, policies that scale climate-smart ag practices. 3, solutions to ease supply chain issues, as well as 4, robust and well-funded rural development programs. The rising cost of doing business is a top concern for all of our members and customers. High fuel, high crop inputs, economy-wide inflationary pressures, these are all chipping away at margins. Given this, the Farm Bill safety net and crop insurance programs are very key to creating a predictable operating environment for these farmers. Further enhance our predictability, I urge the committee to continue to work with the administration to ensure consistent access to proven and safe ag technologies that help farmers maximize their productivity. We would really encourage and like to see continued bipartisan collaboration that encourages climate-smart ag production. Terterra is the sustainability business at Land O'Lakes that we work with and we have for several years. We're an aligned retailer of theirs because we want to give our growers as many opportunities as possible to scale smart climate solutions and scale sustainability. We look forward to working with this committee on Farm Bill initiatives that may create the right incentives and engagement to scale conservation and practice adoption. Third, we need to continue to focus on action with supply chain and labor issues that plague our industry and the broader economy. Lagging rail performance, shipping delays, and a lack of labor really do drive up our costs. They impact our market access and delay delivery of critical shipments. Public-private supply chain solutions, including meaningful ag labor reform, as well as the implementation of the Ocean Shipping Reform Act, are great ways to help us maximize our productivity and economic viability. I would say that when we talk about food security, American producers feeding the world, this is a #1 issue. Lastly, with the next Farm Bill, I really would, and we would really like to see investment in rural development. Basic needs like healthcare, high-speed internet, fire departments, clean drinking water, things that need to be supported and continue to be supported. At the time of considerable challenges facing our nation from geopolitical instability, war in Ukraine, subsequent food security crisis, supply chain challenges, inflationary costs, I feel like I'm losing my breath here, economic headwinds, the Farm Bill is more critical than ever to ensure that we made food security in this country. CFS and Land O'Lakes want to be a resource to the committee as you craft the next Farm Bill, and again, thank you for the opportunity to hear us out, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey. And a little concerned with your lack of comprehensiveness. Totally joking. That was very good. All right, Jim Kleinschmidt, Deborah Mills are the next 2 up. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Congresswoman Bustos and Congresswoman Craig, for holding this session in Minnesota. My name is Jim Kleinschmidt. I grew up on a family farm in Nebraska that were early adopters of regenerative agriculture, but I've been a Minnesotan for 20 years, and my wife and I just bought a place 10 miles east of here. So now we're beginning family farmers and proud of it here in Minnesota. I'm also the co-founder and CEO of 2 agricultural businesses headquartered here. One is called Other Half Processing, which buys hides and other byproducts from regeneratively raised livestock through value-added partnerships with meat processors like Lawrence Meats, based in Cannon Falls, and working with companies like Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed, also based here in Minnesota. And we sell those hides, value-added as leather, to companies like Timberland for boots. So that's one company that's based here, working on the agricultural economy. The other is Tree Range Farms, which buys regeneratively raised chickens from local family farmers to sell under our Tree Range chicken brand. And so on behalf of these companies, I'm speaking primarily, focusing on ways USDA can continue to help grow this high value and high benefit regenerative agricultural economy. From our family's experiences in Nebraska, we know regenerative farming can help reduce costs, increase fertility and water holding capacity, and reduce risk for farmers. We fully support Regenerate America's platform and all efforts to increase education, technical assistance, and incentives for farmers, ranchers, and landholders around adopting soil-building, profitable regenerative farming systems. But essential to that is also securing the value of those products, and that means making sure they're fully utilized and valued in the economy. At Other Half, we're recognizing there's a growing demand for these traceable hides for leather and for byproducts for the pet industry, but we know that many of the small and medium-sized meat processors don't have the infrastructure or the capacity to do that, and they're losing value in this space now where hides were a high value proposition for them before are increasingly becoming a waste product and a cost for them. USDA through Title III could help make that a better way to happen through better investments in infrastructure, traceability technology, staff training and support, which would help utilization of meat, hides, and other products for all the supply chain partners, starting with the farmers. At Tree Range, we have a different issue. We know that we can grow we can grow and meet this new market for regenerative chicken, and our company is able to buy the chicken, set up the contracts, working with partnerships like a nonprofit based in Northfield, the Regenerative Ag Alliance. But the farmers need to be able to cover infrastructure costs for their own farms, which means they have to have access to the credit. They have to be able to get access to that land. And especially because we're working with small family farmers from a lot of the communities that have been historically disinvested, we really encourage you to make sure that the credit programs are offered across the board. Regenerative ag and markets provide an amazing opportunity for U.S. farmers and ranchers and rural communities to build wealth and grow food in local economies while improving soil health and fertility. Really appreciate your time and strongly encourage you to support the policies and programs there that can strengthen these opportunities for us and for all farmers. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jim. Very interesting. Deborah, our first woman to speak to us. And you're on Congresswoman Craig's advisory council.
I should have brought my soapbox.
You can pretend you're on the soapbox right now.
Well, my name is Deborah Mills, and I am a dairy farmer, and we milk 280 cows in Goodhue County. And I am also the Farmers Union Goodhue County Vice President, and I also serve on the board of the National Dairy Producers Organization and the Organization for Competitive Markets. Thank you for the opportunity to bring the collective voices of the independent dairy farmers to the forefront today. Dairy farmers have experienced boom and bust cycles for decades, and these volatile cycles are triggered by the imbalance between supply and demand. When milk prices are high, farmers usually respond by increasing production to meet the demand. But when prices are low, dairy farmers also respond by increasing production in an attempt to generate enough income to pay the mortgage and operating costs, flooding the market and driving prices down further. These wild price swings that result make it difficult to manage a dairy business, but there is a better way. The Dairy Revitalization Plan is a growth management strategy that coordinates milk production growth among all dairy producers to stabilize and improve prices for everyone. Unlike a quota system, which is often viewed as overly restrictive, growth management offers a series of incentives and disincentives to better align the growth production with growth demand. The Dairy Together coalition of farmers, farm groups, and industry stakeholders are pushing for this plan to be included in the 2023 Farm Bill. The Dairy Revitalization Plan would stabilize prices and improve income. With farmers receiving more income from the marketplace, it would reduce reliance on taxpayer subsidies. The program was designed to minimize these impacts and to meet the needs for everyone involved in the dairy industry. The number of American dairy farms has been on a steady decline over the last decade. In fact, the USDA has recorded roughly a loss of 17,000 dairy farms. Many of these dairy farms have been driven out by government policies, industry practices that favor mass production of commodities over farm viability. And the corporatocracy takeover of our farm and our food system really must stop. The outlook is dire for the next generation, and continuing to lose dairy farms at this pace weakens rural communities as well as the American food system. The Dairy Revitalization Plan was developed from feedback from farmers and stakeholders throughout the country. Dairy farmers are united in ways that have never been before, and prioritizing the viability of family dairy farms to promote greater food security and rural economic resilience now into the future. And we need champions like you who will push to end the dairy crisis and stand up for the independent family dairy farmer.
Go, Deborah. Angie's got an announcement real quick.
Thank you so much, Deborah. Just wanted to let everybody know that there are coolers in the back of the room, and they have water in them. There is a restroom in the back of the room. I tried to get the committee to let me bring beer, but it was too early in the morning, so.
is it though?
No, it's really not.
Just a joke. All right, so Brad Hevel, Kylie Jory, Harold Woolley are the next three. You don't need to? Okay. Okay, I'll take you off then. So it'll be Brad, who's here now, Harold Woolley, and then Jim Canton.
Hello, Brad Hovel. I farm with my folks and my brother in Cannon Falls, a little ways east of here. We raise beef cattle, corn, soybeans, custom finished hogs, and also in the hog transportation business. I'm here on behalf of the Minnesota Soybean Growers Association, represent their membership as their secretary of the group. The one issue that I'd like to talk about in the Farm Bill is on the trade side of stuff. So a little background on that. The activities of the U.S. Soybean Export Council is to expand international markets for U.S. soybeans and products that are made possible through the American Soybean Association's investment of cost share funding provided by USDA's Foreign Agricultural Services. Support from cooperating industries and by producer checkoff dollars invested by the United Soybean Board and various state soybean councils. The export program promotion work of the United Soybean Export Council is critical for soybean producer profitability because of the equivalent of every other row of soybeans produced in the United States is exported as either whole beans, processed, or exported as soybean meal or soybean oil. The United Soybean Export Council operates offices located in key marketing areas throughout the world. So the American Soybean Growers Association provides a majority of the funding for implementation of an aggressive international marketing program for U.S. soybean producers that leverages soybean checkoff dollars, which are farmer investment dollars, with ASA's Foreign Market Development, or FMD, Cooperator Program, and Market Access Program funding through the Foreign Ag Service. ASA's, or the American Soybean Association's, success in competing for USDA funds reinforces the partnership between soybean checkoff investments, or farmer investments, and USDA's support for the soybean international marketing activities. So, the funding for the USDA's FMD and MAP programs, or Foreign Market Development and Market Access programs, has been stagnant over the last 20 years. With normal inflation, those funds the farmer leadership are looking to leverage are only 50 cents on the dollar that they were 20 years ago. The farmer members of the Minnesota Soybean Growers Association highly encourage the doubling or more of the funding for the Foreign Market Development and Market Access Program to keep the American farmers competitive in the world market. Another thing that was added to the last Farm Bill that has helped in this deal, and it didn't increase the MAP or the FMD program, was the agricultural trade promotion portion of it that was put in the 2018 Farm Bill. We'd like to maintain that as where it's at because those are additional dollars that we can use to leverage with checkoff dollars once we have developed them markets to increase our activity in those foreign countries and in those markets that we have. A couple other issues. Oh, my time is up. All right, I'll stop. Thank you guys very much.
Harold.
Representative Bustos, Representative Craig, thank you for bringing a listening session to Minnesota. I'm Harold Woolley, a corn grower from Medelia, Minnesota. I serve as a member of the Corn Board of the National Corn Growers Association and was recently elected to the officer rotation there. I will begin my term as first vice president this fall. As a grassroots association, NCGA and our state affiliates are continuing to do our homework so that we can provide specific recommendations to the committee as you develop the next Farm Bill. This morning, I'd like to talk about two of the titles, conservation and trade. U.S. corn farmers are committed to continuous improvement in the production of corn, a versatile crop providing abundant, high-quality food, feed, renewable energy, bio-based products, and ecosystem services. As stewards of the land, we understand the responsibility we have for creating a more environmentally and economically sustainable world for future generations with transparency through continued advances and efficiencies in land, water, and energy use. USDA conservation programs authorized and funded through the Farm Bill play an important role in helping advance the adoption of climate-smart agriculture. I have 200 acres enrolled in the Conservation Reserve Program on my farm. The native grass and trees that grows on this land has been sequestering carbon for years. The forbs and wildflowers nurture pollinators and butterflies. It's excellent habitat for deer and pheasants and non-game wildlife. Under trade, corn growers partner with the Foreign Ag Service, the U.S. Grains Council, and similar organizations that Brad was talking about to grow markets overseas. Regarding current U.S. international market development efforts, the Farm Bill trade title can do more. Increasing market access program MAP funding to $400 million annually and foreign market development FMD program funding to $69 million annually would boost ag exports and provide an economic multiplier effect, helping agriculture and related businesses in rural America. In closing, NCGA recognizes the difficult task you had ahead of you as you develop the next Farm Bill. We appreciate your consideration of our views regarding conservation and trade, and we look forward to sharing more specific policy priorities and coalition recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Harold. All right, Jim Canton, then Brian Tallman, Eric Hokanson. I'm guessing that's wrong. All right, Jim.
Chairman Busto and Congresswoman Craig, thank you for holding the listening session on the Farm Bill here. My name is Jim Ken. I'm a farmer from Milan, and I also serve as Secretary of the Minnesota Corn Growers. I guess a minute about why I'm here. My family, my dad, grandpa, and grandma have been very active in ag policy throughout my entire life and long before me. For example, they had driven a tractor that is very similar to the one sitting behind you from our farm to Washington, D.C. in the late 70s, and I worked there for a number of issues. I certainly agree with the comments that Richard had made earlier about the importance of crop insurance to the corn growers. I would like to add that it's important to invest in the commodity titles as well in order to strengthen the farm safety net. As Richard mentioned in his comments, PLC and ARC reference prices were set back in 2014 and are no longer relevant, and neither are the loan rates, which are very low. I know this would take some doing, but if we could capture a portion of the what's been spent on the trade war relief, pandemic relief, WIP, and ERP since 2017, we could improve crop insurance and strengthen the safety net in the Farm Bill. Then we can avoid the need for these kind of ad hoc programs in the future. Higher reference prices under PLC and ARC and higher loan rates would be very helpful as we deal with record high input costs and volatile crop prices. Resources could also be made available to strengthen conservation programs, including to provide climate incentives. Keeping climate and conservation initiatives inside the conservation title makes the most sense rather than tying them to crop insurance. We really need to stay focused on keeping farmers in business. If farmers are not profitable, we cannot take on conservation or climate projects. If we are profitable with incentives and flexibility, we can help a lot. We have proven that we can promote soil health, improve water and air quality, and enhance wildlife habitat. I'm confident we also can help on reducing greenhouse gases under voluntary incentive programs. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Jim. Brian.
Good morning. Thank you for bringing the Farm Bill listening session here to Minnesota. I'm Brian Thalman, fifth generation farmer. I grow corn and soybeans from Plato, Minnesota, and I'm a member of the Corn Board of the National Corn Growers Association. As a grassroots organization, NCGA and our state affiliates are continuing to do our homework so we can provide specific recommendations as the committee develops the next Farm Bill. This morning, I'll speak about the importance of the federal crop insurance and commodity programs. Last week, Tom Haag, a fellow Minnesotan on the National Corn Board, testified in front of the Ag Committee on crop insurance. I'll echo and reinforce some of his comments this morning. The number one priority for NCGA and the Farm Bill is to protect crop insurance from harmful budget cuts and reforms. Recently, we have seen groups sharpen their knives and propose massive cuts to the program which, if enacted, would reduce eligibility and drive up costs for producers to manage their risks. Here in Minnesota alone, over 42,000 policies were sold last year, covering more than 8 million acres of corn with some level of crop insurance coverage. Restricting access to the programs or raising costs would impact all of these growers in our state. This year is another example of why we need robust crop insurance. Areas in the western part of our state received repeated heavy rains earlier this spring. Now the latest drought monitor shows nearly 30% of southern and eastern Minnesota is facing some level of drought. If we do not receive timely rains, there'll be some large yield losses potentially across our state. When disasters like flooding or drought strike, crop insurance companies are generally able to provide timely loss adjustments and to quickly process the bulk of indemnity payments. While individual growers are not made whole, crop insurance provides the tools and ability to recover and continue operating into the next crop year. NCJ has been a leader and advocate for market-oriented farm policies. During our recent national meetings in DC, NCGA delegates passed a resolution stating we support improvements to Title I commodity programs in order to strengthen the farm safety net. We are continuing to develop recommendations for improving these programs, including understanding their impacts to the farmer and the cost to the federal budget. Regarding the 2018 Farm Bill, thank you for the ability to choose between the Agriculture Risk Coverage County, the ARC County, ARC Individual, and the PLC programs. We appreciate that what is now an annual commodity program sign-up period is similarly timed with the crop insurance decisions we make. In closing, we appreciate your leadership on the committee. Thank you for considering our views and looking for ways that we can all prosper in the future.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Eric Hokinson, Matt Meyer, Will Clayton.
Good morning.
Eric.
Good morning, Chair Bustos and Representative Craig. My name is Eric Hokinson. I am a financial officer with Compeer Financial, currently working out of our Lakeville, Minnesota office. Compeer Financial is a member-owned farm credit cooperative that supports agriculture and rural communities. Our territory includes 144 counties throughout Minnesota, Illinois, and Wisconsin, which includes both Minnesota District 2 for the congressional district, as well as Chair Bustos' district in Illinois. Thank you again for holding today's Farm Bill listening session. Besides working as a financial officer with Compeer, I also am part of my family's farming operation. My wife and I grow corn and soybeans about 20 miles south and east of here, alongside my parents. So today I would like to focus my comments on two important Farm Bill related programs from both an ag lending and beginning farmer perspective. The first has been talked about quite a bit, but it is crop insurance, and it is vital to all sizes and scopes of farms here in the U.S. This allows farmers to hedge their risks and market their crops. This is especially important to young farmers like myself to be able to have a guaranteed source of repayment when disaster strikes or Mother Nature decides to not cooperate. From a lending perspective, having this safety net has allowed many of my own clients to be able to show a worst-case scenario source of income that will cover the payments when applying for loans to expand their operations. The second program I want to discuss is the Farm Service Agency Guarantee and Direct Farm Loan Programs for young and beginning farmers. This is an excellent program that helps young farmers secure long-term financing at favorable terms and rates. Currently, the maximum loan limitations within this program, it's just too low. For example, a young farmer looking to purchase land using the direct farm ownership down payment program, they run out of the full benefit of the program when the purchase price exceeds $667,000. In today's land environment, this doesn't even purchase 80 acres. If there is any room for suggestion to the program, I would suggest increasing the maximum loan limitation to better suit the environment the young farmers are facing. All in all, there are many pieces of the Farm Bill that are vital to the success of today's farmers. These are just two areas that I felt were important to share today with the time I was allocated. Thank you for the opportunity to provide comments to the committee.
Thank you very much, Eric. Matt.
Hello, Congresswomen. Thank you for hosting this event. And thank you, you pronounced my name correctly, unlike most of my teachers in school. It is Meyer. I am the owner and chief regenerative renegade of Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. We are based in Clearwater, Minnesota. I am a farmer there as well. And we process regionally throughout the country, including Lawrence Meats here in Cannon Falls, Minnesota. So we distribute to 50 states, and our decentralized regional sourcing of cattle and processing really helped us get through the pandemic. And it was a joy to see that we're able to fill 95% of our retailer orders with that model. Now, so that showed to me, I used to talk about our resilient supply chain, and I didn't really even know what that meant. So it proved to me that what we're doing is working and can be a benefit to American consumers. In addition, we source cattle from 60 other family farms from Minnesota to Texas, Idaho to New England. And those family farms are all practicing regenerative ag practices, which has a different definition depending on the crop that you're growing. But for us in cattle, it means reestablishing perennial grasslands so that we can get the benefits that have been mentioned already: pollinators, rebuilding soil health, improving watershed, all of those things. One quick stat along that: on my farm, when we convert cropland that's been monocultured cropped for decades and go to perennial grassland, and we check that soil for organic matter, we're hovering around 1% organic matter. And in 5 to 7 years, we can take that up to 5% organic matter. Now, why that's significant is for every % increase in organic matter, you can retain 20,000 gallons of water per acre on the land without washing off. So when you have ground cover, you stop erosion, you stop wind erosion, and you're able to actually build soil when you put animals on the land. And that's what we do. We graze animals for their ruminants, cattle, for their lifetime. And ruminants really are made to process forage and grass. So I know I'm in the land of king corn here, but they really weren't made to consume starch in a heavy diet of corn. And if we can convert some land from cropland and bring it back to perennial grasslands, we're going to get all those benefits that I talked about: pollinators, water, carbon, hot topics for today. And in doing so, we'll produce a nutrient-dense product. You know, cattle are under attack today, meat is under attack, and we can then convert to this nutrient-dense meat product. And you know, people say, okay, this is cute and all, Matt. Can you really produce the beef that we need in this country? If we were able to graze the CRP land and the 7% of corn land that goes to corn in feedlots, we could produce the 100 million cattle that we need in this country every year, just like we are now. So thank you for the time, and appreciate Peterson's for hosting this and for you being here.
All right, thank you, Matt. I'm going to do a quick time check. We have exactly 45 minutes left. We should make a determination of how many people we have in the queue to see if we can still continue with the 3-minute limit, because I want to make sure everybody has a chance. So Josh, I'm going to leave that math up to you. But in the meantime, we have Will Clayton, and then we have Ruth Hafes, Brad Gaussman. So Will.
Good morning. Thank you, Congresswoman Craig and Chair Bustos. Thank you for the opportunity to offer comments here today. My name is Will Clayton. I'm a senior regional representative from Mayer, Minnesota, and I'm here representing Pheasants Forever and Quail Forever and over 20,000 supporters and 75 chapters here in Minnesota. Nationwide, we have 750 community-based chapters and over 400,000 members and supporters. Congresswoman Bustos, as you're aware, Illinois is also one of our highest states for membership and mission delivery. The Farm Bill conservation title is very important to us, and it's critical that farmers, ranchers, and landowners are able to have access to a robust and fully funded conservation title in the next Farm Bill. All too often, there is more demand All too often, there is more demand than funding available, and these conservation programs provide numerous economic and ecological benefits for all Minnesotans and all Americans. This includes reducing soil erosion, improving water quality, sequestering carbon, creating wildlife habitat for pheasants, quail, monarch butterflies, deer, elk, and everything in between. These practices benefit wildlife species and landscapes that millions of us hunters, anglers, and foragers enjoy, and also support habitat and recovery efforts for species that are on the brink of extinction. The conservation title provides voluntary tools that also address overall profitability and sustainability in agricultural, rangeland, and forested ecosystems. The primary programs we work with, and I've personally worked with, are the Conservation Reserve Program, Environmental Quality Incentives Program, including Working Lands for Wildlife, Agriculture Conservation Easement Program, Voluntary Public Access Habitat Incentives Program, as well as many others in the conservation title. We have a nearly 40-year history of closely working with NRCS and FSA, along with our state agencies and other partners, to implement these voluntary private land programs across the country. In addition, we have partnerships with the U.S. Forest Service, working on public lands and private lands that border those federal lands. Over the years, our staff and volunteers have provided technical assistance as well as specialized equipment to assist with the implementation of our partnerships with USDA. When we ask farmers, ranchers, and forest landowners to implement conservation practices, they should be fully supported and appropriately compensated. These practices benefit all of society, and as we look towards the 2023 Farm Bill, we strongly urge you to support the strongest conservation title possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Will. Ruth. Hi, Ruth.
Good morning, and thank you for being here today. My name is Ruth Haves, and yes, you did get that correct. I am from the center of Minnesota, so I'm south of here. I also do some farming practices. I'm a former state chair for Minnesota Ducks Unlimited, and Ducks Unlimited is the largest waterfowl conservation organization in the world with over 1 million supporters. I represent approximately 3,000 dedicated members across the state of Minnesota that also appreciate the opportunity to be here on behalf of Ducks Unlimited today. We're proud to have our long history partnering with farmers, ranchers to deliver conservation, and look forward to continuing our work with you to sustain the natural resources and in our rural communities. The conservation programs included in the Farm Bill are a key part of our safety net used by farmers and ranchers to maximize on-farm efficiency, productivity, and maintain soil health, water quality, and wildlife habitat on their lands. Conservation is in high demand across the country. We and our partners respectfully ask that you and your colleagues strengthen the support for the most efficient and important conservation programs in the Farm Bill. We hope to see a strong wetland and grassland protections continued in the 2023 Farm Bill. We support strong funding for important working land programs like Regional Conservation Partnership Program, Environmental Quality Incentive Program, and Conservation Stewardship Program. A robust agricultural conservation easement program. This is nationally popular program where demands far exceed funds available. An important conservation reserve program through expanded grazing opportunities that improve wildlife and habitat. Ducks Unlimited looks forward to working with the representatives Craig and Botos in the future, and we look for your support in the new Ag Bill.
All right, very good. Thank you, Ruth. Appreciate it. Brad, is that you? Ooh, I love that you have a little baby with you. Really quick announcement. We have 17 speakers left. We have about 40 minutes left. If there's any way the remaining speakers could keep their comments to about 2 minutes, that would be very, very helpful so we can get through to everybody.
I'll speak quickly.
Brad, and who's your baby?
She'll hold me to the time limit. This is Tallulah.
Whatever you say, Brad, we will listen,
All right,
and we will say
that's why I
whatever
brought her.
Tallulah wants.
Perfect. I'm the executive director of the Minnesota Conservation Federation. Since 1936, MNCF has been an advocate for the wild places, water, and wildlife in Minnesota, and we are the state affiliate of the National Wildlife Federation. Thank you, representatives, for the opportunity to speak today regarding the 2023 Farm Bill. Thank you to the Peterson family for hosting this event. Farm Bill conservation programs deliver a wide array of benefits for wildlife habitat, water quality and quantity, soil health and climate change mitigation and adaptation, as well as on-farm benefits and benefits to rural economies. In 2020, Farm Bill supported conservation activities were used on over 46.1 million acres, including 2.2 million acres for soil health, 7.6 million acres for fish and wildlife habitat, and 38.3 million acres for water quality. Despite these benefits, many popular and effective Farm Bill programs are consistently oversubscribed due to inadequate funding. EQIP, CSP, ACEP, among others, are unable to meet producer demand. Nearly 1 million producers were turned away from EQIP in the last decade alone. The 2023 Farm Bill offers us the chance to continue the legacy of conservation through Farm Bill programs. It's our hope that the reauthorized Farm Bill will continue the success of currently operating Farm Bill conservation programs, fully fund these programs so that we can receive their full benefits, and create new opportunities for farmers that take part in conservation projects that have benefits far outside the borders of any one farm. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak today, and I will be submitting further comments in writing in regards to the Farm Bill. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Tallulah and Brad. All right, Christy Purcell, Andrew Leach, Charles Kraus, and Colleen Moriarty are up next. Christy, you are up. And then Annika Reichner. I'm just letting people know that they should be ready. Christy.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Sarah Goldman, and I'm a policy organizer with the Land Stewardship Project. I'm stepping in for Christy Purcell. She had to step out and head out early. The Land Stewardship Project is a member-based organization with thousands of farmer members across the state, many of whom you'll hear from today. The Land Stewardship Project's work is focused on ensuring that the health of the land is enhanced, small and mid-sized farms thrive, and communities are prosperous and just. You've heard from many LSP members today about the need for additional support for conservation programs, and I'd like to uplift one specific bill that I urge you to support, the Agriculture Resilience Act. The ARA is an incredibly robust bill which will equip farmers with the tools that they need to be an integral part of the solution to our changing climate. Now is the time to provide additional funding for innovative programs that allow farmers to invest in the resiliency of their operations and take needed steps to help mitigate the climate crisis. I urge you to support the ARA, and thanks for the opportunity to speak today.
Ooh, way to go, Sarah. All right, Andrew Leach and then Charles Kraus. Andrew.
Thank you to the House Agriculture Committee and the Peterson family for hosting this important listening session today. My name is Andrew Leach, and I work on the commercialization, adoption, and scaling team of the University of Minnesota's Forever Green initiative. Forever Green is an agricultural innovation platform developing continuous living cover crops and cropping systems for the upper Midwest. These crops include perennial grains and oilseeds, winter annual cash cover crops, and woody perennials. The commercialization team helps move these improved and novel cover crops from the lab to the field and to the market. I'm here today to encourage you to think about the critical role that the Farm Bill can play in accelerating the development, launch, and scaling of these crops that can better protect America's natural resources, mitigate and adapt to climate change, and generate economic opportunities for growers and rural communities. Last week, I was on a farm not more than 10 miles from here that has Kernza perennial grain intercropped with legumes, Minnesota's first winter barley line, and a diverse perennial prairie strip. The first official worldwide variety of Kernza and the first winter barley for Minnesota were both released by Forever Green researchers over the last 2 years. These crops are now growing on a diversified, productive, and continuous living cover farm a stone's throw from where we sit today. These innovations are exciting, but much more support is needed, and the federal government has a role to play, including supporting research and development for climate-smart crops, including critical work around breeding, agronomy, soil and water science, food science, economics, and social sciences, substantial investment supporting on-farm adoption of climate-smart agriculture, accelerating investment in the entrepreneurs, businesses, infrastructure, and market development needed to scale production, and identifying policy barriers and fast-tracking federal strategies to surmount these barriers. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you, Andrew. Charles Kraus, Colleen, Annika Reichner.
Thank you for your time. My name is Charles Kraus. I'm a dairy farmer from central Minnesota. I serve on the board of directors for Dairy Farmers of America, the largest dairy co-op in America, and farm with my son Andrew. We produce milk and food for 11,000 people across our state and our country. I'm grateful for both Andrew Craig and Sherry Butos for your bipartisan support of to maintain and expand school milk options throughout the system, specifically to House File that supports whole milk for healthy kids, and School Milk and Nutrition Act, which provides that nutrients that the kids need, and sometimes that's the only place they get it. There's been a lot of talk about the Dairy Margin Coverage Program. I'd like to thank Angie Craig for her support of the supplemental DMC program, and that is a good program, and as stepped up basis could be good on that too. Conservation, additional funding is needed to the conservation title to meet our sustainability goals in the dairy community to be greenhouse gas neutral by 2050. So whatever we can do to help have a government, have a business, and have a farm relationship to meet these goals to be a sustainable product, that would be appreciated. It's also been brought up by several of the commodity organizations about doubling the funding for the market access program and foreign market development programs. For every $20, for every dollar spent on that, $20 is returned. And right now, 1 out of every 6 days of milk in the country is exported to overseas markets. So very important to the agriculture community. And then finally, on the nutritional level, the funding of the SNAP program helps us provide the bridge to us farmers that produce this nutritious food to the people that need it, that are going through enduring and difficult situations. And then also the dairy donation programs. It helps partners, dairy farms, with food banks, which milk is the #1 requested thing in food banks, and on average only 1 gallon of milk goes to food banks per person a year. So thank you for that support.
All right, thank you, Charles. That's an interesting stat that I had never heard. Is it Colleen? It is. All right, Colleen.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and Representative Craig, for holding this listening session today. My name is Colleen Moriarty, and I'm the Executive Director at Hunger Solutions Minnesota. I'd first of all like to start out by thanking the agriculture community for this important partnership on the Farm Bill. This dedication to those who need help has made a tremendous difference. In fact, right now, 430,000 people in this state are on SNAP. During the pandemic, the supports that were there to keep them having access to basic needs was helpful, and it kept the food shelf numbers at a lower than expected rate. But now those kinds of supports are gone, and in the last 3 months, we've seen a 57% increase of the numbers of people who are going to food shelves. There are over 320 food shelves in the state of Minnesota. Those numbers are also affected by the cost of inflation and the cost of food. It's this important partnership that is the fuel, along with TFAP, that keeps the food shelf community and the food banks able to support people at a time when they need it most. And it's your partnership and it's your willingness to work together that has made that difference. We also very much support fruit and vegetable growers and new farmers and BIPOC farmers as a way of adding an inclusive nature into the Farm Bill. Thank you very much, and thank you to everyone in the ag community.
Thank you, Colleen. Annika, and then Kelsey. Hi,
Hello.
Annika.
Hi, Anika Richner. I'm here from Community Action Center. We are a nonprofit human service organization serving Rice County, particularly Northfield and Faribault. And we have a network of food shelves, and the Farm Bill is important to us, connected to SNAP, of course, as Colleen mentioned, but also TFAP. We received a rather dire email from a regional food bank last week letting us know that their TFAP commodity foods are down 50%. At the same time, food shelves like ours, our people accessing is up 50% for us. So we rely heavily on food bank TFAP commodity foods. And we ask that as you enter into this next phase of the Farm Bill, that you remember some of the most vulnerable people in our community, seniors, children, and others who need our help. Thank you.
Thank you, Anika. Kelsey Zavedra.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for being here to both of you. My name's Kelsey Zavedra, and I'm an emerging farmer in Chisago County. And I'm here today because I need you to know that I am also what the future of farming looks like. Farmers like me exist, and we feed families like yours. I have a 5-acre farm where I grow heirloom vegetables, save seed, and raise pastured chickens. Most of what I produce is sold directly off of my farm in my small farm shop. And I'm also one of the farmers that provides produce to the local Veggie RX program. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, it's a statewide program to address food insecurity and health issues by way of physicians prescribing fresh vegetables in our local clinics. People depend on small farms like mine to put actual food on their table each week. Now, I didn't grow up farming, but it's a lifestyle and a profession that I sought out. My journey to find and secure land felt too long. I looked into FSA loan programs, but they were incredibly cumbersome and clearly designed by those who would never have to use them. It took me nearly 6 years to find anything remotely possible to farm on. I settled for a piece of marginal raw land, parceled off from an original farm that went under in the 1980s farming crisis. After 4 years of sweat equity in building my farm from the ground up, I was coming into a new stage of my farming career where I could really think about investing in my future. And I was faced with discrimination. It led to a 4-month battle with my county to stay on my farm. The U.S. has lost more than 20 million acres of farmland over the last decade alone, and this is a trend that continues at an average of 2 million acres per year. For months, I had no idea if I was going to have to sell my farm and become a statistic. All of this is due to the perception of what farmers should be, and I'm an emerging farmer. As emerging farmers, we are more likely to have diverse operations that look nothing like corn and beans. We are more likely to be organic farmers growing early and late into the season. We are more likely to be women, BIPOC, or queer. We are more likely to have a different marketing model than our neighboring farms. And, let's see, where was I? We're more likely to be first-generation farmers who don't inherit an extensive social network related to farmland. We are more likely to be starting from scratch, and we have more grit than you can imagine. Access to land directly determines who has the opportunity to succeed in agriculture. 37% of my county's land use is agricultural. With its close proximity to the metro, it's ideal for growers like myself. I have to end, dang it. I just wanted to say, in the next Farm Bill, we need to acknowledge that the playbook is changing, and we need policies that recognize diverse models of how food is produced, and we need policies that support farm viability for young farmers and for farmers of color. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kelsey. All right, Nate Waters, Dr. David Wallinga, Gail Donkers, Daryl Mosel. Nate, you're up next.
Thanks to both of you for having us all here and listening to us. Angie, good to see you again. You're always welcome in the neighborhood. Thanks to the Petersons, of course. I know it's no small feat to stop the farm and throw an event. So you're welcome, though, for the excuse to take the morning off. I'm Nate. I grow apples and make cider over there at Keepsake Cidery and Woodskeep Orchard. Today, I'm going to be speaking on behalf of Land Stewardship Project's Northfield area farm members and supporters. This letter has been co-signed by farms such as Open Hands Farm, Waxwing Farm, Keepsake Cidery and Woodskeep Orchard, Poquet, Boer Goats, Cloverbee Farm, Simple Harvest Farm, Unruly Earth Farm, Spring Wind Farm, Lone Oak Farm. The majority of these farms are small, diverse vegetable, fruit, livestock. They're currently out in the fields right now and in the barns, raising food and products and providing services for our beautiful Cannon Valley and beyond. Many of these types of farms are the solutions to some of the challenges that I'm hearing today. Social injustices, the need for new farmers. I'll take off my letterhead. fully support Kelsey and what she just said. The need for rural economic development, conservation. These are the farms that I believe really address that, and we need help. Small and mid-sized diverse growers in this region and throughout the country face enormous and unique barriers that are often overlooked by federal decision makers, and we often feel alone and marginalized. And we hope that we can be represented, including in the Farm Bill. Some examples of this include, as was just mentioned, affordable land. It's almost impossible for many young farmers, beginning farmers, to even get on the land that they can farm. It would be great to have the FSA loan approval process improved. We need programs to help beginning farmers just simply afford the land. This is a huge roadblock for all beginning farmers, including, and maybe more than most, farmers of color and other marginalized part of our society. I've heard people talk about crop insurance, and that's not even an option for many of us. If it is, it doesn't really fit our farm. And over the past years, as we've seen, there's many issues that go along with that. Real quick, just to finish up, we're working on building a community of healthy food systems, and we are feeling a real lack of infrastructure. And so we'd like to encourage some infrastructure built around the farm needs that we have, and including addressing corporate consolidation. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Nate. Dr. David Wilinga. While he's coming up, Gail Donkers, Daryl Mosel, Jason Viama, and that is, Jason, you're going to be our last speaker. Oh, hold on, sorry, I guess there's more, but Doctor.
Yes, hello. Nice to meet you both, Representative Craig, Madam Chairwoman Bustos. I'm here representing the Natural Resources Defense Council, where I'm a senior scientist in a food and ag team, and our more than 3 million members and advocates. So we have people across different teams looking at, doing science on, and trying to elevate policy opportunities in the Farm Bill to do 3 things. 1, protect our climate. 2, improve the soils and biodiversity. And 3, help build healthier and more resilient communities. So I'll be submitting 6 pages of comments. I'll try to zero in on a couple of things in my time. 1, cover cropping. I think most of us know that cover cropping is one of those stewardship practices that we know maintains productivity in the face of a changing climate. Over the last 2 years, the administration could be other farmers of color.
Operation. But I'm here to talk to you about 2 things, mental health and young farmers. As I look to my left and my right, we have a very diverse group of people here and the farmers, and I think sometimes people forget that they are farming 24/7, 365, and that their jobs are very stressful. I took part in the Safe Talk program that happened, that they helped facilitate throughout Minnesota, and it was very beneficial to me. And I think that a lot of times we forget that how stressful weather conditions, a tornado in 2018, drought, markets and that type of thing can be for farmers. And we need to really help them when it gets to be a tough time and step up. Also, young farmers, I'm a mom to 2 boys that are trying to come back into our operation. One is in our operation and working with us, and one, we don't quite have enough room for him. So, we would really like to have some young farmer programs out there. I echo Ed Terry's comments saying that, they are the future of our rural America, and we need to work on getting some programs. I'm not sure what those are, but I just echo him in saying that we do need programs for our young farmers to get them involved. Otherwise, we're going to lose them to other areas. So, thank you.
Thank you very much, Gail. Daryl Mosel, and then Jason Viama, Nathan Rice. Daryl.
Chair Bustos, thank you. Angie Craig, thank you for coming to Minnesota. I farm with my wife Diane just outside of the Twin Cities here, about 2 hours to the southwest. She's a retired school social worker. My sons Chris and his partner Jake live in St. Paul and helps on the farm as much as he can. My youngest son Michael with his friend Elise and their 3 children are remodeling an old house right now that I think you would enjoy, so you could represent me in the 7th District. So I'll talk to them about it, twist their arm. I currently serve on the LSP board for Federal Farm Policy, and our priorities right now are stopping climate change, sustainable farming solutions, rural communities, and land access for beginning farmers. One of our priorities also is crop insurance reform. We represent over 4,000 members for Land Stewardship Project, and as Sarah just spoke, we are a very diverse group and have a lot of members in the rural area. I like Bruce Peterson's comment that some of the savings from maybe some sort of sensible payment limitations on crop insurance could be used for discounts for beginning farmers. My son Michael, who is trying to farm with us, is facing quite an uphill battle. Unless we actually give him most of our farmland, it would be really hard to get started.
Who need it. I will tell you that as the support has waned, when the pandemic has passed, that's had a real impact on our organization. We've already spent more money on food purchases this year than all of last year combined, and that's directly connected to the reduction in TFAP money and the reduction in SNAP benefits. So we strongly support eliminating the 3-month limit on SNAP benefits. We support making it easier to access for college students and new refugees, and we deeply support anything you can do to help access in the suburbs to reduce the eligibility requirements. In Lakeville, for example, only 11% of the kids need free and reduced lunch support. We delivered 300 meals last week to students in low-income neighborhoods who don't qualify. From the pandemic, the easier you make it to get help, the more help organizations like ours can give. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jason. Nathan Rice.
I think I got this down to about a minute and a half. So. Thank you so much for hosting this. My name is Nathan Rice. I'm the dad of 4 up in Maple Grove, Minnesota. I'm here today as a supporter of the Regenerative America campaign. Regenerative America is an unprecedented coalition of farmers, businesses, nonprofits, and individuals from every corner of the country with all political stripes. Together, we're amplifying the voices of farmers, ranchers, and asking that the 2023 Farm Bill move resources and support towards regenerative agriculture. I'm not a farmer or rancher, but I'm affected by the Farm Bill because of the great food produced by those farmers and ranchers. I'm really looking towards the increasing access to healthy and regionally sourced food. We need the 2023 Farm Bill to support regenerative agriculture, and through that, healthy, regionally sourced food. Healthy soil grows more nutrient-dense food for the health and well-being of all Americans. Properly functioning soils also reduce erosion and runoff, purifying our water supply and improving air quality. There's tons of great stats we can share with you on that, but I wanted to cut it off there. So thank you so much for navigating this labyrinth.
All right, very good. Thank you, Nathan. Ryan Buck, Mike Peterson, Ilan Blestion, Rijaldo Haslett, something. I'll get to that in a second. Ryan.
Thank you. We all know to save it for a rainy day, to save it for those tough years, and then when it comes back out and we use it, then of course Uncle Sam would get his cut. With Section 179, we can spend when we make money and buy machinery, but with the pandemic and things that have taken place the last 2 years, machinery's kind of hard to come by. If you order something now, you might not get it for a year and a half, just depending on what you buy and where it's coming from. So if there was something like that in the bill that could help guys, kind of offset income, so we're not, feast or famine. So thank you. One other thing I'd like to say, Representative Craig, thank you for keeping Les in line. I know that's a big job. You're doing a very good job at it.
Thank you.
Where is Les?
Where is Les? Hey, Les. I know I have questionable hiring decisions, but it's okay.
Hey, Ryan, you'll be glad to know that Les brought this up over dinner last night about the savings account. So it's been shared with us. Okay, Mike Peterson, Ilan Blestion. I think it's Rijaldo, but I might be mispronouncing that. I apologize, but we'll find out in a minute. Mike.
Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys just paying attention to our neighborhood. And another thing we need to pay attention to is kind of represented behind us there. When I first started coming around this farm, that 4020 was about the size tractor that you needed. That's what they need here today in this family on this farm. One will do the work in, I guess, a day, what that one would do in a week. And it kind of represents there's probably you had enough help to fill that seat back in that day, and it's hard to find help to fill that seat. So we really got to watch our next generation coming up. In our family, we have a young farmer that's part of the Young Farmer Loan Program, also part of the EQIP program that is helping with the conservation side of things, and he couldn't do the right things without that being funded. Also, you talked Farm Bill. That gives you the scale there of maybe how it should evolve as far as scope and scale of money and things that we need for security and just a safety net. Every acre out there is you can see that it has potential and production, and 100% of it needs to be covered. About 28% of it, I believe, comes to the commodity program that is its safety net, and the rest goes to the SNAP program. So just because of the diligence and the skill sets that this family has, it enables a SNAP program too. So I'd appreciate you guys having your ears open and with your constituents out there and whatnot, and the rest of the people in that town, just as they bring up the need for a farm program, explain to them that the SNAP program isn't possible without that filling grocery stores. So preaching to the choir, but anyway, it's good to be around Mr. Wordish here today. You know, I had to work with the better-looking brother at the Rice County Fair on Thursday, but this one I enjoy his company. So you guys straighten all that out at Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Mike. All right, Ilan.
So first of all, it's an honor to be here. Pleasure to speak to you guys. My name is Lon Bluston. I'm speaking on behalf of the Minnesota 4-H Agriculture Education Representatives and the Ag Ambassadors. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today and learn, and we are excited to see where this farm bill will hold the future of agriculture. Thank you so much.
Okay, Rijaldo, again, my apologies for my butchering your name.
No se preocupe. Reginaldo Haslett Marroquin. I farm 75 acres just off of Highway 19. And nice to see you again, Representative Angie Craig. I am really honored to be not only in your presence, but also in the presence of people like Mike Peterson, Dave Legvold, Jim and Bill and Dr. Willing. I mean, all those folks have been tremendous help. As a new immigrant, I needed that kind of support infrastructure and system in order to just get my skills in agriculture put to work here. I'm an agronomist. I'm from Guatemala. I'm a scientist. I came into this place with an eagerness for entrepreneurial development. I have over 15 companies that I have helped develop, including the Peace Coffee, and recently with Jim with Tree Range, the Regenerative Agriculture Alliance. Part of the staff is here too. We really went at it full time. We are not asking for favors. We're not asking for handouts. We're not asking for pity, none of that stuff. But we really, really, really have to fix this whole Farm Service Agency and how it finances farmers, because for as much as we know how to do and as good as we are at it, we have gotten zero support from the federal government. Now, we are not competing with anybody here. In fact, we are really glad and we are happy to endorse everything that has been said. We need corn growers, we need soybean growers, we need all the farming that you see here, but it doesn't apply to us. Us, I mean immigrants and small farmers. And the stack, if you add up all of the challenges and situations that have been described already today, time that by 10 times, and you probably start getting the idea of what it takes for some of us. Now, I did buy the farm, but it took me 20 years after another 10 years. So 10 years first, I actually saved enough money to buy a farm, 67 acres, would buy into a farm in Jordan, Minnesota. Now, I was literally, physically removed from that land by discrimination by neighbors who just didn't like the idea that I was a landowner next to them. Now, probably because I was in Lutheran or Catholic, I don't know exactly why, but that's the case. Now, I came here to Northfield. I went in full-time as well, got fully engaged in this community, built a lot of infrastructure in this town. but I want to farm. That's my thing, and it is the thing of many thousands of us here who are right now just ready to help these communities get better and just don't have the opportunity because we have to pay for everything on our own, and it is already stacked against us with all of the support that exists, except with the fact that we can't access it. And I can get into more details, and I'll be working further with LSP, of course, because it's one of the strong organizations here, and Sarah Goldman was laying out some of that framework. And I truly hope that you listen to that part, because the Farm Service Agency is really the key to a lot of this, but right now is structured against any of these innovations and the potential future of rural communities to get a foothold into these emerging systems and opportunities that we have brought into this country.
Thank you, sir. Nick Gardner, and then we're going to close with Jim Checkle. Last two speakers. Nick, and then Jim, get ready. All right. Hi, Nick.
Hi. Thank you to the Congressional Agricultural Committee and Bruce Peterson for hosting this listening session today. I'm Nick Gardner. I direct operations at Perennial Pantry, a processor and food company in Burnsville that's working on Kernza, perennial grain, as well as other continuous living cover crops such as sandfoin, camelina. As Andrew Leach of the University of Minnesota laid out, continuous living cover crops like Kernza are in the ground actively. They're cleaning water, they're preserving topsoil, they're improving soil health, and sequestering carbon. In order to scale these projects from the pilot scale to the landscape scale, we need to dramatically increase the market. I want to share a success story that happened here in Minnesota that we believe should inform the federal farm bill. A year ago, my team looked around and believed Kernza and other new crops were approaching a adoption tipping point, and that tipping point reached by work of nonprofits, land-grant universities, and small businesses. In partnership with other advocates, we believed it was time to advocate for increased state commercialization support, and in order to begin dramatically scaling the acreage and the acreage impact of continuous living cover crops. So with the help of nonprofits and entrepreneurs, a coalition met with state representatives, developed legislation, and got signed into law bipartisan legislation creating a continuous living cover value chain development fund. So this legislation will invest in the supply chains of Kernza, winter camelina, elderberry, and hazelnuts. Significant state investment into breeding and basic research has created the opportunities of these new crops, and now it's time to cash in on those incredible scientific innovations. So I'm excited to share that because of this bill, Perennial Pantry is in the process of building a new facility here in Northfield, which will increase our output 5 times. And we're confident in our ability to jump from totes to truckloads now because of this legislation in Minnesota. We believe strongly in the fellow voices here today calling for regenerative agriculture, and I'll just end by saying Minnesota has this tangible, novel approach that should be looked into and invested into to bring new economic development. Yeah, let's support this win-win. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nick. It is noon on the dot, so we're going to go a couple minutes over. Is everybody okay with that, so we can allow Jim to make his comments? Okay, very good. Jim, you're closing it up, buddy.
Okay, thank you for saving the worst for last.
No, the best.
My name is Jim Checkle, and a couple things that haven't been brought up is that a lot of people think that the food just comes from the grocery store. There's not a lot of knowledge of what goes on in agriculture. And I would like to see more education to the general public of where their food actually comes from. I agree 100% with Gail about the mental health issues, so I won't go into that. The third thing that I would like to address is that when I talk with people from the Department of Ag, FSA, different groups, they have trouble finding people with knowledge of agriculture. And so what I would like to see is more funding for universities and community colleges and things like that to develop better ag programs, more online learning, more broadband, things like that, where we're able to take and get people with ag knowledge to fill positions in the FSA and the Department of Ag and the universities and the FFA advisors in schools and things like that.
All right, thank you very much, Jim. With that, we will bring this to a close. A couple announcements. For those who were not able to make your comments public, There's another opportunity for ranchers, consumers, taxpayers, farmers, anybody who would like to make comments. All you have to do, there's an online form, and it's at agriculture.house.gov. agriculture.house.gov. And so if you know of anybody who wasn't able to make it today and they would like to make a comment, please go to that. This was official. Again, we recorded this entire listening session today, this field hearing, and heard about everything from ethanol to conservation to young farmers to mental health. All of this will be considered as we enter into laying the groundwork for the 2023 Farm Bill. So incredibly, incredibly helpful. Again, I want to thank the Peterson family for being so kind to welcoming us to their farm. Let's hear it for them, please. And I also want to say, I don't like to pick favorites, but Tallulah is my favorite. How old is Tallulah, by the way? 9 months, so our youngest presenter today. And then with that, I'm going to hand it over to your Congresswoman, Angie Craig, who fought to make sure that we had a field hearing and listening session right here in her district in Minnesota to make sure that helped get the 2023 Farm Bill in the right place. So with that, Congresswoman Angie Craig, you get to close this out.
Well, thank you so much, Chair Bustos, and thank you for coming to Minnesota and to all of you. I just want to call out Carol as well. Carol, thank you so much for having us here, the entire Peterson family. And thanks to all of you. This is just a tremendous turnout of folks across Minnesota. Commissioner Peterson, thank you so much for being here. It's really an honor to represent this congressional district. If you're from this district, you've probably heard me tell my own story a number of times, but Colin Peterson helped lead the last Farm Bill. I may not have been there as long as he had, but I'm a lot cuter than he is. So, and a lot less cranky most days. So I'll just leave you with that. You can tell him I said that. But my own story is my grandfather was a family, but this accent. I grew up just off the land that my grandfather farmed. And after I spent 22 years working my way up a Minnesota healthcare company, doing a lot of work in trade outside the United States, when I got to Congress, I told Colin Peterson my first choice is to be on the Ag Committee, and he said, why? And I said, because my grandfather was a family farmer in the 1980s farm crisis, and that crisis took him out. My grandmother is 96 years old. She still lives off the family farm where my grandfather farmed. Those grain bins in that little town, they're rusted and they're inoperable these days. So I've made a commitment as your member of Congress from Minnesota's 2nd District, and as long as I'm there for every single farmer across Minnesota, the guy from the 7th a minute ago, I'm your Congresswoman too when it comes to family farming. I'm going to do everything I can to keep our family farms operating, and that means we have got to have a strong, strong farm bill in 2023. And then lastly, I heard you today when we talk about the aging of the family farmer, when we talk about the need for young farmers, we've got to create a system that enables that more and a more diverse set of family farms across our community. So again, it's an honor to represent Minnesota, honor to represent Minnesota's 2nd District, and just thank you so much for coming out and such a strong showing for the Ag Committee. Thank you, staff, for everything that you do, and thank you again for being here. Gary, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming.